Hello everyone and welcome to today's topic lesson. So we are looking at who the Vikings were. So this is something we have looked at before in our last bit of remote learning, but we're just going to go a little bit further with a different kind of activity. So first of all, I'd just like you to have a think. So pause the video, have a think. What do you know about the Vikings already? This might be something that you've researched yourself. This might be what you remember from our lesson last time on the Vikings. Just what do you know about the Vikings already? Okay, so previously, last time in remote learning, so when we did that before Christmas, we began to look at who the Vikings were, and a very, very quick recap. So the Viking Age in European history was from about AD 700 to the year 1100, so 1100. During this period, many Vikings left their homeland, so where they lived in Scandinavia, and travelled by longboat to other countries like Britain and Ireland. And remember last time we looked at the Lindisfarne landings and drew pictures of them and just sort of thought about how terrifying it must have been those times that the Vikings pulled up on their boats. And the first time was probably quite interesting. Oh, what are these people doing? And then the terror that must have struck them as they realised, and then the terror once again when they landed those other times and attacked again and again. So that's just what we've done before. So what we're going to do today, I'll spell it two different ways. The first way, if the title is correct, we're going to be using one of the key skills in history, which is historical inquiry. So the title spelling is correct, not enquiry. And historical inquiry is an investigation which you undertake to understand the past. So what can we do to understand the past? And steps in this process include asking questions, locating and analysing sources. So for example, you could look at old artifacts to find things. So if you looked at the Egyptians and they looked at the Rosetta Stone and they figured out how hieroglyphs worked, that helped them figure out about the past. So they've used a source, a primary source there. You could look at books, you could look on the internet. So what source of information can you find to help you answer those questions that you're asking to help you understand the past better? So it helps you to develop an informed explanation about the past. So all using all the evidence you have and can find to build up as strong a picture of the past as possible. So that's one of the key skills in history. And we're going to work on that today in a slightly different way. So you are going to be shown some pictures. Using those pictures, you need to create a character and a character profile. So you're going to be drawing a picture based on some items that have been found left by this person, and then writing down some facts you think are true about this person. So I'm just going to show you a few now as a practice one, just a general one, and we'll have a little think about what we could do for that person. So I'm saying, what can you tell me about this person? I'm going to show you 3 different items, and you need to think what that tells you about this person. So what I'll do is I'll show you one and give you a little bit of time to come up with your own ideas, and then I'll share my ideas, which might not necessarily match yours, but that doesn't matter because we're reading different things into these items. So the first thing I want to show you is a football boot. So I'm going to ask you to just pause the video here and note down what you think this tells you about this person. So what does it tell you about their interests? What does it tell you about their age? Does it tell you anything about their gender, their job, their family? It might not tell you about all of those things, but it certainly tells you about some of them. So have a pause, have a think, and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, so I can tell straight away from this that this person plays sport. I imagine that they use these football boots for playing football. They might use them to play rugby, but rugby boots tend to be a little bit different. So I'm assuming here, based on this evidence, using my historical inquiry, that this person likes football and they play it. So I don't know what level they play it at. They might be a professional. They might be someone who just plays down the park. You could say they're not very muddy, so maybe they don't wear them. Or They're very clean and they take very good care of them. They're quite a nice pair of boots, so maybe they've spent quite a bit of money on them. So maybe they're quite wealthy, or maybe they've worked really hard and saved up on their money, or maybe they're quite young and they've saved up all their pocket money for ages to be able to buy these boots. So with that one piece of evidence, I can start building a picture in my mind of what this person might have looked like. I can't tell everything just yet. So I'm going to have a look at another picture now, another piece of evidence, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it to you, ask you to pause the video whilst looking at that picture and thinking about what it tells you about your character and what they're like and anything else you can tell about them. So here we have a Superman comic. So what does that tell you about this character? Okay, so my ideas are the first one that just springs out right in your face. It's got to be someone that likes comics. I can't imagine they were carrying this comic around if they didn't like it. However, it might have been a present for someone, so it might not have been for them. It could have been a present. I think I'm going to assume that they like comics and it was for them. So I'm going to let it tell me something about them rather than their family or friends, I think. So they like comics and they like football. Okay, so for me, this is pointing to someone who's quite young. So maybe someone of school age, but not necessarily, because that's quite an old comic. So either this person was alive quite a long time ago and they had an old comic, or maybe they collect comics and this is a special one. So they might be a bit older. I think I'm going to decide that I think this person's quite young. They've saved up really hard to buy those football boots and they just love reading comic books. So that's why they were carrying this around with them. So let's have a look at our last item and see if this tells us any more about this person. So we have a bag of sweets. So what does that tell you about this character? Does it help you with drawing your character? Does it help you writing down a few notes about what they are like? So I just suggest, once again, pause the video, write down any ideas that spring to mind about this person, and then I'll tell you my ideas. So I think this has really cemented the idea in my head that this is definitely a child, because they love sweets, they love football, they love comics. Not 100%, because adults like sweets, adults like comics, and adults like playing football. Or it could be a parent who has bought their child some new football boots, a comic, and some sweets. We don't know, but we need to decide on something because we need to draw our character and we need to make a character profile. I think I'm going to go for quite a young child. I'm going to go for, let's say they're in year 5, like you guys. I think they're in year 5. So I draw a child. I draw them with a football next to them, wearing their football boots, maybe a bit muddy from playing football. I would draw them with a cape just to show that they love Superman. They may not wear a cape. They might like dressing up as Superman, but just to show they like Superman, I think I would have them wearing a cape. And then let's surround them with sweetie wrappers, because maybe they're a bit messy and they leave their sweetie wrappers everywhere. So that's just giving me an idea, and you have to think about their hair length and maybe whether they wear glasses or not, what kind of clothes are they going to wear. You could draw their family members if you want to, or you could just make some notes about what sort of family you think this person has. I'm going to decide that they have a younger sister that loves sweets as well and always tries to steal them. And she really doesn't like football, so she gets annoyed. But she does like comics, so she tries to steal his comics. So this is just me sitting here now thinking of all these different things. So you could make notes about your ideas as they spiral in your head about your character. But this is our only our practice one. So don't spend too much time on this one unless you really want to, because I'm going to show you some things related to Vikings and let you use your historical inquiry to come up with a picture in your mind about them. So I'm going to move on to that now, but obviously you can pause and draw your picture for this person and write down notes about them, what you think you have worked out using historical inquiry. Okay, so once again, I'm going to show you some pictures. I want you to decide what you can tell about the person. So how might they look? How old are they? What is their gender? What might their job be, if they have one, if they're old enough? Are they wealthy? Where might they live? You can also think about, so if we think about jobs and wealth and gender, think about how the items might tell you an answer to those based on the period it was set. We're talking about Viking times here. So if you have someone with sword and armor, for example, it's probably more likely to be a man, but not necessarily, because they did have shield maidens, so they did have ladies that fought. But odds are it's more likely to be. But if you decide, if you see a shield and a sword, which I am hinting at you're going to see, you might decide that it's a lady instead. It's completely up to you. You let the evidence point you in whatever direction it points you in. So let's start having a look through these pictures. And as we go through, I'm just going to describe what they are, and I'm not going to put any ideas into your head because I want you to use your ideas and your historical inquiry, ask your own questions, come up with your own ideas, because I don't want to influence what your character is going to look like and the information you write down about them. So, surprise, surprise, the first piece of evidence. So when you imagine these pieces of evidence, I want you to imagine that someone has dug up a Viking site, a historical site, maybe a Viking house they dug up, and they found all this person's belongings in a corner somewhere. So these are their favourite things they've kept in the corner. So imagine you found all these things. So the first thing you've found is a sword and a shield. So what does that tell you about this person? And on each of these slides, I'm going to have the same questions. If you come up with some information that isn't based on those questions, that's absolutely fine, because you might have thought some different things. Like, for example, I haven't written down family on there. I haven't written down what's their house like. I haven't written down, do they have any animals? Do they have a farm? Do they have pets? I haven't written down, there's loads of things, because I only have a short amount of space and I want you to come up with your own ideas. I haven't written down all the questions that you can think of, but my questions are, how might they look? Because you've got to draw a picture of them, so you need to think about what they're going to look like. How old are they? What is their gender? What is their job? How wealthy are they? Are they rich? Are they poor? Are they in the middle? Where might they live? So those questions are going to be every single slide with a picture. So your first piece of evidence, and if you want to at the end, pause the video, rewind, look at these again, 100% do that. I definitely advise you to do that. So sword and shield. Then we have this peculiar, exquisitely decorated horn. I wonder what they might have used that horn for. I can tell you they held it, but I wonder if you could do a little bit of research to find out what they used that horn for. I can tell you it's hollow, so it can hold things in it. I'll give you a little hint. It held liquids in it. So what might they use that horn for? And it's very well decorated. So does that tell you anything else about this person? Look like there's gold and silver on it, perhaps. And we have a helmet here. So this is a Viking warrior's helmet. So what does this tell you about this person? You might think it points towards them being a warrior. You might think it points to them being a collector of armor. I don't know. And then there was a small pouch found, and inside they found this little cache of coins. So what does that tell you about this character? Remember to pause the video at each one of these and write down all your ideas so you can come up with a picture and a character profile at the end. Some pretty cool looking coins. Then we have a map of the United Kingdom of Britain. It's not got Northern Ireland in it, so it is Britain there. So we've got Wales, England and Scotland. They were divided up in different ways in those times. What does that tell you about this person who is from Scandinavia? If they've got a map of Britain, what does that tell you? Okay, and then the last item I'm going to tell you that this is a glass stone. It's called a sunstone. So I wonder what they used that for. And I wonder what that might tell you about this person's life and what their job might be, what they might do for a living. Okay, so I'm very quickly going to flash back through those pieces of evidence. I'm going to quickly recap what your activity is, and then I'm going to let you get on with it. So I'm going to just go backwards through those. So our first piece of evidence, sword and shield. Then we have a horn, which holds liquids. What are they using that for? And it's ornate, it's very, very nicely decorated. It's pristine. It looks like it's got gold and silver on it, although I cannot be sure. Then we have a Viking helmet. We have some money, lots of money. Fantastically decorated money. Then we have a map of Britain. And we have a sunstone, which someone is holding up to the sun. I wonder what they did with that. Think about how Vikings travelled. That might help you with your ideas. So, just to recap on what you're doing, you need to draw a picture. So some of you might have tablets to draw on, some of you might have A4 bits of paper. You can decide what you draw it on. You can decide if you use paints, you can decide if you use felt tips, you can decide if you use just a pencil. I want you to draw a picture and I want you to label it. What are they wearing? How old are they? I want you to write a character profile. This could be in bullet points underneath the picture or just in sentences around the picture. And you can include information like, what gender are they? How old are they? What do they do for a living? What are their hobbies and interests? How wealthy are they? Do they have a family? And I've put etc. there because you've probably thought of loads of things I've not even considered. So I'd like you to get on with that, and I'm very excited to see what your characters look like and what ideas you've come up with them based on the information you've seen and using your historical inquiry. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing your ideas.